What up? What up? What up? Well, what up? Welcome to another episode. We have decided. What's good, everybody? My fellow bass heads. We have decided. Dr. Fred said, man, the podcast is going to be called Groove School Podcast. Not the Blue Collar Bass Podcast. We're going to have to retire that. But it's going to be the Groove School Podcast. Man, let me know where you're watching from. If you are watching live, let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching a replay, welcome. Let me know where you're watching from. Happy Wednesday, y'all. I wanted to say real quick, office hours over at Groove School were pretty dope last week. If you're not a member of Groove School, we waiting on you to come on through. Today, man, I want to talk about some key areas that I think every musician, every bass player, every musician should really kind of know. But since we're bass players here, we're going to talk about what's up, William Fitch in Cleveland. We're going to talk about bass specifically. All right. And some of these things may seem elementary, but I don't want you to overlook them because MJ Morgan, NYC, some of these things get overlooked. And I've seen a lot of people wonder why they are struggling. There's been a lot of talk, not a ton of talk, but SBL put out a great video / live stream a few days ago. Kyle Teaches Bass came on and he did a reaction video to it. Just really, one of the points that they were talking about was, YouTube and sort of the dangers of YouTube, the dark side of YouTube. And, there are no checks and balances for YouTube, right? You see a video, you buy a course, you join a membership or whatever, and raise your hand if you got a bunch of PDFs sitting on your hard drive that are collecting dust and you still don't feel like you're getting any better. Well, that's not the creator's fault. That's not, it's not your fault really. It's an awareness thing. So we want to talk about awareness. That's what I want to talk about today is awareness. And so we're going to get into it like that. I called it what every bass player should be, and I was going to say practicing, but then I'm like, it seems a little harsh. Anyway, if you're not a member of Groove School, you can grab yourself a 7-day free trial, linked somewhere below. Some new content just went up yesterday, but we are going to get into this. These 5, I think there are 5 areas these are broad areas. And I have to say, as I say all the time, what I'm about to tell you is a way. It's not the way, but it's for damn sure a way. Okay. First area is technique. Now, when I say technique, I am not talking about the flashy stuff. I'm not talking about thumping and plucking or tapping or anything like that. This may sound elementary, but I have seen people have to relearn how to hold the instrument. It's like every time. Lori from BR in my neck of the woods. Got Philly in the house. You shouldn't have to relearn how to hold the instrument every time you pick it up, right? Think about getting in your car. You have a system for getting in your car. If this may seem really silly now, I'm not gonna demonstrate or teach anything. I'm not gonna demonstrate anything in this live stream. There is, I got tons of videos here on the channel. There is what I'm calling the pocket path over at Groove School. Those lessons are coming out. They're dripped out. Jade, what's happening? Jade, the cough is better, just so you know. So lost my train of thought there. Hollering at Jade and hollering at Lori from Baton Rouge. So I feel when I first started playing, I would feel good just holding the instrument, just getting the instrument in my hands, right? And I don't even care if it's like playing air guitar. You know, when you pick up your phone or you pick up anything, you know, it should be just as natural as that. You shouldn't be fighting against the instrument, right? So that's the first area oh, you know what, guys? You know something? Tell me if that slide changed. I don't know if the slide changed or not, but technique is the first area that I think that you really need to take some look at. You know, your physical comfort level with the instrument. The next thing is rhythm and time. Again, I'm not gonna demonstrate things here, but you need to have an internal musical time. What are we talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. Right? Or 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Or whatever the meter is. Right? So you want to understand meter. You want to understand where events are happening within a measure. Do me a favor. If you're watching live, I want you to type in the chat some things that you think would fall under this umbrella of rhythm and time, right? I think you need to know, well, I know you need to know where you are in a measure at all times. You definitely need to know where 1 is, right? Without a doubt, you need to know where 1 is at all times. What other things that you guys can think about in this, under this umbrella of rhythm and time? Let's talk about feel for a second. You need to know when you're ahead of the beat, on the beat, or behind the beat, what those things mean, right? Don't be shy. I'm going to move on, but if you think about something, I want you to go on and type in the chat what you think. These are areas that, you know, when I say there's no checks and balances on YouTube, these are things that I want you to be thinking about, regardless of what genre you play. What, I've been lurking around in the forums a lot lately, and it always boils down to like 2 questions. Comes back to 2 questions for me. Somebody posted earlier today, do they need a fretless? And then Lori says, gotta feel it in the body. Gotta feel it in your body, right? I am not against metronomes at all. Not at all. I think metronomes are important, but you still have to feel time in your body. So somebody said, do I need a fretless? And my question to that person is, like I would say to, anyone who would say, well, what kind of pedal do I need? What kind of bass do I need? What kind of music do you want to play, and who do you want to play it with? Start there. What do you like, right? Now, these are things that you write down. How is my time? You're evaluating, you're self-evaluating, especially when you're learning online. You're going to self-evaluate, right? And I've got some questions, so keep watching, because I've got these questions. Some of you have heard them before, but I have these questions that you need to ask yourself for everything. You don't need to. I think you should. And I think if you start evaluating yourself on this, you're going to find your progress is going to, your understanding is going to grow a lot faster. The next thing is functional harmony. I'm going to park here for a little bit and talk about functional harmony. A guitar player friend of mine, we're talking about this the other day. There are 7 notes in a major scale, just 7. And each one, somebody write this down. Write this down. Wherever you are, unless you're driving, I want you to write this down. There are 7 notes in a major scale. The major scale is the mother of all harmony. You can trace everything back to the major scale, right? There's 7 notes. Each one of those notes creates a scale. Each one of those notes creates an associated chord or arpeggio. Chord, arpeggio, they mean the same thing, played different ways. Chords harmonically played, arpeggios played melodically, one note at a time. Arpeggio meaning broken chord. In popular music, and when I say popular music, I really just mean music that you would hear on the radio. That music is going to use the one chord. Now, hear me out here. I'm not talking about the order of chords. I'm talking about the chords that are going to be typically found in those songs. The 1, the 4, the 5, the 2, and the 6. The 1, the 2, the 4, the 5, and the 6. The 3 and the 7 are special, right? Now, as bass players, a lot of times when we see, like if we see a slash chord, for instance, that has the third in the bass, let's say A flat. If we're playing in the key of A flat and we see a chord symbol that says A flat slash and then C, well, the C is the third of that chord, and we'll see that. But Phrygian mode and Locrian mode are not as common in pop tunes. If a light bulb went off for anybody just now, I really want you to let me know in the chat if a light bulb went off. I did a video a few months ago, and I said, for modes, the first chords that I would, if you really wanted to like piecemeal it, I would say learn the 1, learn the 4, learn the 5. Learn those first. Those are the major chords, right? Now, if we're talking about 7th chords or 4-note chords, 1 major 7, 4 major 7, and 5 would be dominant. 5 would be dominant. The only time you see all dominant chords typically in a tune is when you're talking about blues. But when you see a dominant chord, 5, 7, or you see a letter with a 7, that's going to indicate that is the 5 of that key. There are things such as secondary dominance, but we're not talking about that right now. Okay, we're talking about base level, ground floor stuff. 7 chords, right? Now, ear training. Can you tell when a harmony changes? When you're going from one chord to the next chord, can you identify? I was just listening to I'm gonna put a reel up on Instagram, but it's this guy Pat Jr. and he's got this. Now you know what, I hadn't planned on playing, but the bass line is so cool, and it. Got a short here. Let's see. There we go. When you're sitting down listening to a piece of music, can you hear when it... Can you hear when the chords change, right? Or if you heard something that went... might sound elementary. I understand that might sound elementary. Okay? I understand that might sound elementary. So let me just review this real quick. Somebody asked a question. So technique, you got to be able to hold the instrument. You shouldn't be relearning the instrument every time you pick it up, right? Rhythm and time, knowing where you are in musical time. Functional harmony, just understanding the basics of how chords work in a key. P. Dot, you'll be able to watch the replay. Ear training, right? So, you know, one aspect of that would be hearing those chords change, right? Can you tell when the harmonies change? Can you tell the interval when you hear one note go to the space between two or more notes? Can you tell where that's going? Can you, like, for instance, can you hear a fifth before you have to find it, right? Now, you don't need to have perfect pitch. I don't think perfect pitch is a skill that I personally would want to have, quite honestly, because playing with people who have perfect pitch is sometimes a little bit of a drag for different, just because of the way they experience me. Like I can really. Like if a guitar, a 6-string guitar is out of tune, that's something that's really painful to me. And anyway, that's a story for another time. Pattern recognition. Can you remember patterns? Your major and minor pentatonic scales. Can you address those in multiple positions, right? These things are going to appear in different genres, right? It doesn't matter. Rhythmic patterns, right? That's one of the things I was thinking about when I was talking about rhythm and time. There's a lot of really basic, common rhythms. So we want to be able to recognize patterns, both physical, visual patterns on the neck, and also, audible patterns. I hope that makes sense. But now, how do you focus on these things in your practice time? Well, there's a few different ways. Right? There's a few different ways. I've got a, I'll be. I think that the first person. What's up, Baseline Project? I think that I first encountered this philosophy through Anthony Wellington when I was taking lessons with him years ago, and I've adopted this as my own because it is sound. It is sound. The first thing is, can you play it? Whatever the thing is that you are trying to play. Can you play it? Can you play it from memory? Can you fix the mistakes? And can you use consistent technique? Right? Do you know when you're making a mistake? And can you fix it? Right? Because repetition without reflection is only going to reinforce mistakes. Right? Can you hear it? Can you hear when you've played a note out of context, or if you've played a wrong note, right? Now, I want you to just visualize something that you're working on right now or trying to learn or play right now. If you don't have your bass in your hand and you just pick the bass up, can you come back to it? Matter of fact, on Groove School, I just dropped a full series of lessons on the song This Place Hotel. And one of the things that I'm doing over at Groove School is behind the scenes where I'm learning the tune myself, learning or relearning it, and showing my entire process from start to finish for learning a song. And one of the things that I did was this pattern was like tripping me up, and I knew it. I said, okay, I got to stop for a second. I got to stop and walk away because I'm trying to like beat the thing into submission and it's not working. So walk away, come back and play it. And if I can play it and I have a hiccup, can I fix it? You know, I've had that a lot over the years on the bandstand. My working life as a musician, a lot of it has been pickup gigs, showing up to a gig and just playing. I've done and still do a lot of function gigs, wedding gigs. When I was in the Bay Area, I would do weddings. I would do, Q's Lounge in Oakland, or I would do, the AKAs and the Deltas, and have these sorority things, and all these different events, right? Where you just kind of show up, and there may or may not be a song, a set list, right? May or may not be a song list. And so this muscle memory, songs that I've heard before or played before, or there may be songs that I'm like, ooh, shoot, I haven't played that in a long time. Can I get through it? And it might be a hiccup here or there. And then if there's a hiccup, can I just jump back on it and play the tune? One of the tune that comes to mind right now is Close to You by Maxi Priest. That song got called on a gig, and I was like, I kind of know it. I know the song enough to play a convincing simile of the song. But because of the nature of that gig, that just kind of stuck. And then one day I listened to the song and I was like, oh, wow, it kind of doesn't, it goes kind of like that. But here's some things that are missing. But the bottom line is, once the train leaves the station, you got to be able to keep rolling. So I stayed on that point, maybe longer than I intended to, but you get my meaning. Can you see it? And listen, I know some people hate AI photos, but I absolutely love it. That diagram that young lady is holding is complete hogwash, but it's a good AI photo. Can you see it? And what I mean by that is, can you see it in your mind's eye? I can see my bass neck even when the neck is not there. If there's certain songs or patterns or whatever, I can just see them, right? I can visualize them on the neck. So when the instrument is in my hand, I'm not guessing. You see? I'm not guessing. And the last thing is, can you explain it? Can you explain something really succinctly? For instance, let me hook this up again. And this groove here, I can explain to you that I'm playing a B flat minor 9 chord. I'm playing the root, the 5th, the octave, the 9th, and the 10th. And then it goes up by a 4th to E flat. Now, is that everything there is to explain about that? No. But in the heat of the moment, if I would have a quick discussion with a guitar player, hey man, you know that song, Nothing to Lose by Pat Jr. Yeah, man. So it's just a B flat minor to an E flat minor. You'll hear it, and I'll play it, and then we use all the other information that we have at our disposal. Now, I know I'm going fast, and there's not, this is not one of those situations where you're going to get all this stuff in one sitting. So what next? What you can do, if you are not a member of Groove School, you can try the 7-day free trial. I don't do a lot of private lessons. I do sometimes, but if you're watching the replay, you can watch the replay and kind of just think about some of these things. But P. Dot says, how do you connect a scale with a song? Does the band leader tell you what key you'll play in and use the notes in the scale? That's a great question. Okay, let me answer this question. I think this question is going to be helpful for a lot of people. So, number one, you want to learn songs before you have to know them. You should be listening to songs and trying to learn songs. You should be doing some sort of recon and just learning songs, right? Now, having said that, I'm going to try to answer this question and not go too deep, but also not like gloss over it. Tomorrow night, I'm going to do a gig. I just got called to do a gig on Bourbon Street. And the gig is, no, it's Friday. I'm going to do this gig from 4:30 to 8:30. I don't know what they're going to, I don't know who's singing. I don't know, I don't know who's singing. I know the guitar player on the gig, and I know the drummer on the gig. I don't know anything else about the gig. And there's going to be a bunch of like standard kind of tunes, My Girl, Dock of the Bay, maybe Let's Stay Together, things like that. Those songs will have bass lines, and it'll be a part of the sort of the song book, right? Again, knowing those songs ahead of time. But let's say that I'm trying to think of a good example. I'm trying to think of like a real world example. Band leader says, hey man, we're going to play such and such. And it's a 1-6-2-5 in the key of A flat. First, for me, I know the scale in multiple positions. And when I was practicing scales, and how I suggest that people practice scales is count the numbers, right? Take all the things that we talked about here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Now, obviously, when you're on a gig, that ain't no place to do that, right? You share it at home. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you start seeing where those numbers are, where those roots of those chords are. 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5. Now, I'm just playing the roots. Now, what finger I would wind up playing those with would depend on what I wanted to do or what the bass line called for or whatever. But here I'm thinking about, let me turn this other camera on and see if I can show you a little bit better than I can obviously tell you in the moment. Let's see. All right. So here's my A flat. 1, 6, 2, 5. Now I know that shape of 1, 6, 2, 5 because I've practiced those scales. And when I practice those scales, I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But then I get curious. You know, you got to also be curious. I should have put that in the deck. You have to be curious because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just say that. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 6 also. Now that's a pattern. That's a pattern that I've heard time and time and time again. You've heard it time and time and time again. But what? Oh, Jesus. But what I think is that I could be wrong. It's just in my experience. I think when we hear, well, we got to learn the scales. We start learning the scales without context. I think on bass guitar, that isn't the easiest thing to do because, you know, bass is not like guitar or keyboards where you can have 2 or more notes and hear chords and stuff like hear. I don't want to say hear music, but bass is a little less friendly because it helps to learn it in context. So I challenge you all. I'm going to leave you with this. I challenge you all to take inventory of the songs that you are learning or the songs that you want to learn. Write them down. Like really, for real, write them down. Take inventory. What's up, Juan Hayes? Take inventory of those songs. How many of those songs can you really play from start to finish? Or if there's a piece of a song, right? And speaking of which, I told y'all before that the Groove School was going to be a plane that I built while I was flying it. And, it's as a creator, it is hard to not, it's easy to get caught in like comparison and look at what other people are doing and all that. And we all know that comparison is the thief of joy. But, for me, I feel like, there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of great stuff on, you got SBL, you got Kyle Teaches Bass, you got Lauren Cohen, Bass Bus, all the, there's so many different things. And the only thing that's different is who we are and how we teach this information. For me, I really, over at Groove School, like I said, with the behind the scenes on, This Place Hotel, what I'll do is pull up the Songmaster Pro, isolate tracks, really pick through and give you my mindset, my thought process while learning these tunes. And it is the way that I have learned tunes for a long time, even before having software tools like Songmaster Pro. And it again, not the way, but certainly a way that has served me well for many, many years. And so yeah, that's, That's that. There's no one real easy answer from me, at least not in the moment. So, as always, y'all, I appreciate you hanging around and watching and being here. I'm feeling like super duper mellow today. What's wrong with me? Because it's hot here in New Orleans right now. Lori's in Baton Rouge, so she's probably feeling that heat as well. Anyway, y'all, if you haven't tried out Groove School, there's a trial. There's a link below in the description, or you can go to the if you go to grooveschool.co/store, you can go on and get your free trial. You can help me build a plan. You can suggest, ask questions. You have access to me. So we have office hours next Wednesday. So I'm doing office hours every other week. So next week will be office hours over at Groove School. Lori says, I'm no vocalist for sure, but singing the intervals regardless. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, I'm going to tell you, a lot of times, let me show you how I used to practice as a kid, and even sometimes now, like this. Because my chin is on the, my chin would be on the bass, and I'd be able to, be vibrating or whatever. But then I'd be, my mother, whoever's ever lived with me, my mother, my ex-wife, would hear me like, grunting. You can't be afraid of your voice. You gotta get your voice in there. You gotta get your voice in there. So anyway, I'm going to end it there. Y'all, thanks for always rocking with me. If you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button for the algorithm and all that good stuff. We need to get to 100,000 this year. Yeah, like Ashton Hall. We got to get at least 10,000. Somebody know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. 2 fingers.